Hi everyone, I'm John C. Morley, the host of the JMOR Tech Talk Show and Inspirations for Your Life. Well, hey guys, welcome to the JMOR Tech Talk Show. We're actually back again now because earlier today we tried to do the show, and actually, thanks to the wonderful French company Altice USA or Optimum, well, I have some choice words for them. They're horrible. But I heard the government's supposed to mandate them fixing something in 2026, 2027. Again, this just goes on my point that you should never allow a foreign company to own U.S. utilities, communication companies, and we wouldn't want to own theirs. Their service just plain, well, you know what. Anyway, welcome to the JMOR Tech Talk Show, your weekly technology show that gives you the insights that you need to learn to stay safe and to be ahead of the cutting edge. All right, guys, if you are new here, I want to take the opportunity to say welcome and thank you so much for joining me. If you're coming back, I'd like to say welcome back and thank you so much for joining me again. Really great to have you back with me. So thank you so much. If you're new here, don't forget to check out believemeachieve.com for more of my amazing, of course, inspiring creations. That is after show, long form, short form, reels, and so much more. So definitely check that out. All right, guys. And if you're thirsty, I don't want you to be parched. So feel free to go get yourself some water, maybe a cookie, other kind of snack or fruit. And let's kick this show off because I've got a lot to share with you. Are you ready? I know you are. So, ladies and gentlemen, the JMOR Tech Talk Show dives into the headlines behind the headlines, where transit cards die, passports go digital, clouds crash, and fake pixels stop real trains. In this episode, I'm John C. Morley, serial entrepreneur and an engineer, marketing specialist, video producer, podcast host, coach, graduate student, and a passionate lifelong learner. And it's my privilege and pleasure and honor to be with you here today as I break down 14 of the most amazing tech shocks you probably missed this week, but absolutely need to understand. All right, are you guys ready? I know you are. From New York to New Jersey's last swipe card and drone drama over the Garden State to streaming empires, robo-taxis near school kids, and AI hoaxes that shut down infrastructure. This week proves one thing: the future isn't coming slowly, it's slamming into everything you do, ride, watch, and trust. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Series 4. It is show number 51. And it's all about how this week's small tech glitches quietly rewired your commute, your streaming, and of course, your online safety. Today's segments are really cool, and you're going to want to stay tuned. The first one is, well, number one, TAPP is live. So Path just put the MetroCard and SmartLink on hospice care as TAPP officially becomes the new tap and go standard for New York, New Jersey riders. This isn't just a card swap. It's the final bridge between old school swipes and a fully contactless transit future where your wallet, phone, and bank card all live in the same turnstile ecosystem. Well, guys, I know that's a lot to digest. I do realize that. But, you know, they want us to say goodbye to MetroCard and SmartLink era path as they have just flipped the switch to TAPP and getting ready to end this on December 31st. That's right. So TAPP, a reloadable tap and go card with new machines. You can even use your ATM card, bigger screens, cash-friendly options at every station. Riders can grab a TAPP card for $5, registered online for an instant $5 travel credit and use it alongside phones and contactless banks as Path retries some things. But before they do that, they're going to retire the old fare system by December 31st, 2025. So I want to talk to you about a situation I had. It was a while back. I think it was probably about maybe, oh gosh, probably 6 or 7 months ago. And I was in the city. I don't go in the city that often. And so I didn't have a MetroCard. Okay. And I saw this thing called TAPP, and I was like, huh. So maybe I actually don't need to buy a ticket. Right. I can just tap my card and go. And the next time I went there, I totally forgot about TAPP. But TAPP saves you that inconvenience to have to go over the machine, tap the machine, put all the information. You just tap your card and you go. The only criticism I have, or constructive criticism, is that I think they should be letting us know what they're actually going to be charging us, not just zapping our card. So they're trying to do this to make things more convenient, but I think it's also going to help revenue because you're not going to have to wait so long. And the whole idea of the screens being bigger, being more friendly, more welcoming, and the ability to just basically tap your card and go. And we're not just talking about the tap cards, we're talking about your ATM and Mac cards right in your own wallet, or even the smart features on your iPhone. So this is where things are going. And I think the whole deal is about people trying to gain more convenience. Let's face it, guys, when things are more convenient, you know what happens? Well, that means people are going to spend more money when things are more convenient. We always talk about convenience being something that we want to do, but convenience really helps propel forward a larger growth pattern. I think that's something that a lot of people, they don't really understand like what that is. But I want to tell you that it's important to understand this. And when I say understand this, I mean something that I feel a lot of people are gonna pull away. Why? I think it's because people like go a certain way, right? And they want to do a certain thing. And so when this happens, people are like, oh, I can do this, I can do that, right? But then when it changes, it's like, oh no, really? Like, what am I? How do I do that? And so, number two, guys, the MetroCard cash riders. It's a wake up call. If you still load fares with coins and cash, well, Path just set a ticketing clock on your routine, and that is December 31st. It's the deadline, and it's in the sand. And the message is very clear now. Learn tap now or watch your commute jam up as the old systems quietly vanish and the tap crowd walks right past you. It's kind of like the Easy Pass, right? You remember how they were still doing tokens on the Parkway, and then they slowly phased out that concept, and then they were trying to get rid of cash, but they didn't 100% get rid of cash, but they did make it more inconvenient to use cash. So they basically yielded people to use the Easy Pass system. But it wasn't without any quirks or without bugs, right? So the idea was to make traveling easier and faster. And when that happens, more people could spend their money a lot quicker. And so the more we think about, how this is going to work, I think most people are hesitant to a new process, to a new system. So what Easy Pass did is it created this new infrastructure that allowed people to travel and pay very easily. So does anybody know what company created New Jersey Easy Pass? Anybody know? So New Jersey's Easy Pass system is operated by TransCore. It's a subsidiary of Singapore's ST Engineering after being awarded a major contract by the New Jersey Turnpike Authority, a decision sparking controversy due to TransCore's Chinese ownership ties and its winning bid being higher than the rivals like Conduit. So you have to ask yourself, like, what's the real motive? Like, what is going on? What are people doing? But is it about bids? Is it about something else? I don't know. But it seems like there's propaganda hidden in there. And we should be giving, things like this to the United States first before we go overseas. Like, why are we going overseas for business? Why don't we give our own country like first priority? Like, that's a thought, right? But maybe people haven't thought of that. I don't know, guys. So, this is your wake up call. If you're traveling a lot or even a little and you're going to use the path or the transit systems, well, it's time to tap and go. Or you're going to waste a lot of extra time. Now, here's something very interesting, I think, that you may not realize is that New Jersey Transit actually was early to the party where they came up with their app. Not saying it's perfect, but you could actually pay for tickets using basically a credit card, ATM card, and even PayPal. Now, the thing about their application is it's a little more cumbersome because you have to download an app. And then once you download the app, you have to create an account. You have to log into the app. Then you have to link the account to your payment method. That sounds like a lot of work. It'd be nice if New Jersey Transit had a tap and go. Maybe they might migrate to that. Who knows? But I think a lot of this, so the way New Jersey Transit works is you buy your ticket and then you have to actually activate the ticket on your phone. And I think the ticket's good for like, I don't know whether it's 45 minutes or 90 minutes, something like that. And so that ticket is good for that period of time. And that's how you show the conductor that you have a ticket. And then it expires after, obviously, so many minutes. But so many people I talk to are frustrated with the technologies put out there. But many of these companies are putting this technology out to make things easier. So the question you might ask is, so who wrote New Jersey's transit app? What company? Is it the same company? Well, the Jersey Transit app stems from the New Jersey Transit's own data feed and some of their problems they have, like technical errors in their GTFS real-time data or issues with real-time providers like Cloudflare, right? So, who is the question right now? Who wrote the New Jersey Transit app? What company did this? So, the New Jersey Transit mobile app was developed in-house by New Jersey Transit's own IT teams, leveraging their internal capabilities for real-time data integration like Departure Vision and MyBus and user experiences. Though they partnered with various tech firms for specific innovations like Transit Tech Lab for accessibility features, while specific vendors for the core app aren't always highlighted. Companies like Princeton Internet Group built their award-winning website, and Conduit handles the fare collection, showing New Jersey Transit using a mix of internal and external partners. I think when you do this, there's a strong potential of having a weak link. And there's too many people in the kitchen trying to cook. I think that's a very, very big problem. And I'll tell you, the amount of times I've used New Jersey Transit's app, I found it to be frustrating. It does eventually work. Sometimes it gives wrong information, but the process is so cumbersome. Just being able to go to a bus and tap my card would be a heck of a lot easier than, what they're saying. So New Jersey Transit buses are having challenges with this, and whether they're on time or not is a whole other brigade. But more people are growing, let's say, more frustrated with New Jersey Transit bus commute, not because of the usual complaints, such as buses being late or even canceled. It's instead the app that's being used to track whether the bus is actually on time may no longer be working. So they just have to sit there at the bus stop with no info. It's like they've been transported back to the 90s, said one resident who frequents the certain bus lines. And this has added a whole new level of stress to traveling on buses. And I think it's totally unnecessary, they said. The issue is not a glitch with the app. Rather, it's a data feed from New Jersey Transit. That's the problem. And this is according to Stephen Miller, a spokesman for the Montreal-based app company Transit, in response to inquiries from NorthJersey.com. when they requested some information. So many transit agencies make their real-time data feeds available to the public using a format called GTFS Real-Time, which allows third-party transit apps and companies such as Google Maps, Transit, Move It, and City Mapper to show real-time departure information from various transit agencies. For years, New Jersey Transit used a custom data format that the transit app team was eventually able to translate so the feed could be used on its app. I think this was a good idea that they started to do this, but I think they rushed ahead too fast. And so we all know that you can't, rush a pie. You can't rush a dessert. You've got to take your time, right? What happens if you rush a cheesecake? Well, it falls and it becomes a disaster. So we can't have falling cheesecakes because people are in a hurry to get the tech out. I think it's great and wonderful that many people at New Jersey Transit want to get the app out, but I think they should have followed more of the pathway of, what the path is doing and the whole idea of TAPP. So I think the concept here is the payment is a little bit quirky. And in addition to the payment process, the data is so unreliable. I mean, do you think maybe they could validate their data before they actually use it? Like, that'd be a thought, right? But we're going to have to see what happens, guys. And I think it's great to see this tap and go system. I know the first time I used it several months ago, it was a breath of fresh air. It was like, oh, I just tap my phone or I just tap the card and bam, I just go. But I didn't know how much I was being charged. I think what should happen is, before I even approach the system, it should automatically tell me what the fare is, and then I tap, and then it basically, goes through. I get that they were trying to keep the delay down, but we should have what's being charged. That's a real problem that I have. Number 3 this week, guys, is New Jersey's mystery drones. Is it fear versus evidence? New Jersey's skies are full of mystery drones. The stories, but the sensors and detectors behind the scenes, well, they keep coming back with the same readout. Lots of talk, not a lot of verified threats. The real story, guys, isn't the drones. It's the gap between the viral fear online and what the tech on the ground actually sees. I think the media and a lot of people just love to, let's say, 10x propaganda. It's one thing if you have a mistake, but then if you take something and you amplify that mistake, well, that becomes even more chaotic and more problematic. So this happens because a lot of people and companies are so in a rush to get the tech out, but they don't bother to check what's going on. See, I think that's a big problem, guys, a very, very big problem. And I hope that as more technology evolves, it could be smarter technology. See, we don't want to rush and put tech out there just because, hey, we came up with an idea. No, anybody can do that. We want to refine it and make sure that the process, the software, and the logistics actually work to the people that are going to use it. There's a real interesting thought. Maybe they should actually do that. Number 4, guys, who can shoot down a drone? Well, I don't know if you know this, but the state has tools that can spot and even disrupt drones. But Washington still holds the keys on who's allowed to pull the trigger. That leaves us in this little debacle, being in the middle ground, where we can detect and track suspicious devices, but legally, we're stuck in see it, log it, and hope it leaves. I don't know about you, but I think that's a very poor way to be managing drones. So New Jersey's mystery drones have people freaking out online, but the state detectors are finding little to no sign of anything dangerous. While Governor Murphy and the DC argue over who's actually allowed to take them down, lawmakers want more transparency. This is what they're saying. Better tracking and real rules for the 8,000 plus drones in the U.S. skies on any given day, as conspiracy theories fly faster than the drones themselves. And we're not talking about these little couple $100 or even $400 drones. We're talking about the drones that could be like 20,000 or more that are as big as a car. So these are some big concerns that a lot of people have. And I get why people are concerned. I mean, the fact that you have something up there, like who's got access to that data? Where's it going? And what's it doing, right? I mean, you have this big monstrosity flying over your house and you're like wondering, they have lights, they have cameras, they have microphones. There's a lot of technology out there. And a lot of what's going on doesn't get shared with the public, claiming it's quote unquote classified, right? I think classified is a good way to say, well, we don't know. So we're just going to go ahead and just make sure nobody knows anything about it. I mean, that's just really, really poor. Number 5, guys, the Apple Wallet Passport Flex. Apple just turned your iPhone into a serious airport flex, letting U.S. travelers load passport data into wallet and breeze through hundreds of the TSA checkpoints with a tap. But it's a digital convenience layer, not a full replacement, and the physical passport book still decides whether you get on an international flight or stay at the gate. So if you're looking to fly domestically, you probably can get away by using the new digital passport. But if you're looking to fly to Paris or England, don't plan on leaving the gate without having a real live book passport in hand. And that's where we are, guys. So Apple, the wallet, it just got what we said, passport power. But as I said, don't toss your passport book just yet. Holiday travelers with the new Flex is great. But if you're traveling outside of the United States, so if it's international travel, that could be a real problem. And people are flocking to this because, well, they don't need the real ID. And this is another way to get people to go through security, but I think it's just more of a band-aid. So it doesn't replace your physical passport or work for international trips, but it lets iPhone users scan their passport, verify with a selfie and a Face ID, Touch ID, and breeze through select TSA lanes without ever handing over their phone. I remember coming back from Louisville, Kentucky, when I was on my fall break, had a lot of fun. So they didn't have clear in the lanes. But then they said they had like mobile clear. I'm like, what the heck is mobile clear? So mobile clear is when you download their app, you verify what you're going to verify. Then you just show the phone to the agent and you're through. I don't know, guys. I think we've got to be careful about the data, where the data goes, and how it is being managed. That's something I've been saying from day one. It's not about, how much profit or how much money somebody's going to make off of the system. It's really about doing the right thing, whether somebody's watching or not. So our security is at the forefront here. But too many people are looking at, well, how much money is it going to put in my wallet? What kind of power is it going to give me? Right? And those are wrong things, but that's what's happening, guys, just to be honest. At number 6, I think now that we understand that we don't toss that passport, now that we understand that it's a tool to help us get through the airport for domestic travel only, but we still need that paper passport booklet to go internationally. So for domestic trips, your phone can speed you through TSA, but for the overseas flights like England, Paris, and other places, that old school booklet is still the only thing that's actually going to get you across a border. I know that sounds like a lot. I know using Clear for a long time, and I remember they were doing, the whole thing where, you had to do a couple things. So you walked up to the unit, you had to do a fingerprint, then you had to look at the scan, then you do a fingerprint, then you had to scan your, like that was a lot of work. Now you just walk up there, okay? You scan your boarding pass, and then you look at the screen, and you're done, right? It's all about money. It's all about control. And my question is, who has access to this data? Number 7, guys, Cloudflare's one-line faceplant One misconfigured firewall rule at Cloudflare poured molasses into the modern internet, unfortunately knocking out or stuttering services from businesses and apps to social platforms around the world. Now, the outage wasn't about hackers. It was about how fragile everything becomes when a huge chunk of the web leans on just a few infrastructure giants. Now, one of them is Amazon. I remember being in Louisville, Kentucky, and I wanted to get a lift. Well, because of this major problem that was going through Amazon, not only was I having problems looking up to get the ride, but when I finally got the ride, it didn't send the vehicle to the right location. And then Lyft didn't even want to credit me. They're claiming it was my fault. Their app messed up, but yet they wouldn't refund me. Like something seems wrong with that picture. I know what it seems like. And it's not just seems, it's true. It's about accountability being, well, non existent. Number 8, guys, too big to fail, too fragile to breathe. The Cloudflare drama exposes the uncomfortable truth that the web has become dangerously centralized, with single vendors acting like oxygen lines for entire industries. That's serious, guys. When one of them sneezes, achoo, productivity apps, startups, and communication tools across the globe instantly catch a digital achoo, fake digital cold. Is it because the right validations are not in place? Is it because there's no way to watchdog this? Is it because the way the system's running, they figure that if they get a few mistakes, it doesn't matter? Whatever the reason, guys, I think it's really important that we understand that the infrastructure we use every day can go down. So whether we're developers, whether we're business owners, whether we're consumers, it's important to understand how technology actually works. And what do we do when it doesn't, right? What's our plan B? Do we even have a plan B? Well, John, I don't need a plan B. I always have a plan A. Suppose your plan A fails. We talked about this with getting out of buildings last week with, fire drills. Suppose it wasn't a drill. Suppose it was a real fire and you actually could not get out of your location. That's serious, guys. It's so serious that nobody thinks about its actual severity until either they're in that kind of a situation, unfortunately, or maybe they know somebody very close that's been in a situation like that. Number 9, guys, Netflix and HBO and the app Thanos Netflix circling a deal to scoop up Warner Brothers, Discovery, and HBO. And this would turn one streamer into the, well, de facto boss of your binge life. Fewer apps might sound convenient, but that kind of consolidation means one company could own your favorite franchises and dictate the price of, yes, just one more episode. Nights, days, weekends. If somebody decided to change what they charge because they could, because they were the ones that control this, that's why we don't want a monopoly, guys. That is why we do not want a monopoly. So Netflix is dropping this blockbuster of its own planning to buy Warner Brothers and Discovery Studio and streaming business into a $72 billion deal that would bring HBO, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, DC, and classic films like Casablanca under one streaming roof. If regulators sign off, cord cutters could see fewer apps, bigger libraries, and a lot more power concentrated in the hands of the world's largest streamers. going to come down to power. It's going to come down to money. But is it going to come down to what people want? Probably not. It's coming down to how can they make the most money in the short amount of time quickly. That's a tough one, guys. Russia just hit FaceTime. The internet tightening continues. Russia has now restricted Apple's FaceTime and blocked Snapchat, adding them to a growing list of apps throttled, banned, or heavily monitored as the quote-unquote Kremlin tightens its grip on online communication. With virtual private networks like VPNs under pressure, calls banned on WhatsApp and Telegram, and a state-backed Max Messenger promoted as the safe quote-unquote alternative, digital life in Russia is being pushed onto platforms that critics say double as surveillance tools. So I think what Russia's trying to do is a little bit underhanded. They're trying to get people into using these apps because they're saying it's for security, but really it's a double-edged sword. The government's trying to police and see what they're actually doing, so they're trying to spy on them. I think that's really bad. Number 10, guys. It's all about Waymo versus school buses. So Waymo's robo-taxis claim, quote-unquote, to be safer than human drivers. But mishandling stop school buses is a big red line you can't fudge with software updates and pay a lot of money to fix public relations. No, it's eventually going to come out in the wash. Even if you were able to save face for a few weeks or even a few months, it's going to hit harder and burn when people learn the truth. Until self-driving systems treat flashing lights and unloading kids as non-negotiable stop signs, they don't belong anywhere near a morning school route. And I know you're thinking I'm being harsh, but we got to face this. I was actually alongside a bus the other day, and the lights were not red, but they were yellow. So I was starting to be cautious because I knew the bus was probably going to stop any second. And to my unsurprise, the bus did stop. It let a kid off, and then within literally 30 seconds, the red lights went off, the stop sign came in, and the bus moved on. Now, think about this for a moment. So Waymo's robo-taxi just flunked School Bus 101, really. Waymo is pushing a software recall after its robo-taxis were caught mishandling stop school buses, triggering a federal defect probe and complaints from Atlanta and Austin school officials about cars illegally passing buses 19 times this year. That's too much. Once is too much. The company says it quietly shipped a November 17th update it claims now performs better than human drivers. But the NHTSA, okay, I love to throw acronyms at you, right? So I want to make sure you understand that. So what is the NHTSA? Does anybody know? So it's the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, in case you were wondering. And so the NHTSA still wants deep data on how its 5th-gen self-driving system really behaves when kids are loading and unloading. But the thing is this, how do you test stuff like this? You're not going to use real live people. So you've got to create these situations until we know that they're going to handle them in the most appropriate manner. After all, if an autonomous vehicle makes the wrong decision, we could be talking about taking out somebody's life, and that wouldn't be funny. Number 11, guys. Gelsinger's 100-meter laser bet. Pat Gelsinger walked out of the corner office at Intel recently and straight into a moonshot, a football field-sized laser system designed to push chip making beyond today's limits. Backed by serious government money, this project turns chip fabrication into an industrial light show aimed at keeping Moore's Law above a little longer. Now, I know what a lot of you are saying, John. I don't know what the heck that is. So, what is Moore's Law? So, it's actually pretty simple. Moore's Law is the idea that computer chips get twice as powerful. That's more transistors and cheaper roughly every 2 years, making our gadgets smaller, faster, and better over time. A prediction by Intel's co-founder, Gordon Moore, that drove the tech industry for decades. It's the simple reason your phone is way better than a computer from 10 years ago without costing much more. So, what's it about? A prediction that the number of tiny switches or transistors on a chip doubles about every 2 years. What it means for you: more transistors equals more power, more features, and better performance. The cost part: the power increase happens at a relatively steady or even failing cost, making powerful tech accessible. So it really falls, is the real way to say. The driver became a self-fulfilling prophecy, guiding tech companies to innovate and shrink transistors continuously. The result: think the jump from old bulky computers to smartphones and AI, all powered by this one principle. Is it still true? It's slowing down as transistors get close to the size of atoms, making it harder to shrink. The industry is shifting to new methods like multiple cores to keep progress going, but the original simple doubling rule is starting to fade, unfortunately, and we'll have to get a new rule. But what does all this mean when it comes to technology? So we know that we're moving to multi-cores because we hit a ceiling with how we're going to be cooling these systems. So we've moved to multi-core because of the efficiency and the heat and how we can handle that. So that's why we've moved that way. Number 12, guys. Petco's settings breach. Yup. Petco's data incident wasn't a Hollywood-style hack. Nope. It was a whoops in a configuration that exposed customer info to the open web. Oof. I think that should be more than a whoops. That quiet little switch flip shows how, in 2025, one wrong setting from even a little tiny dip switch can turn a trusted brand into a privacy liability overnight. Thinking about that, that's sad. This reminds me about the teddy bear caper, where they had these teddy bears and these animals, like plush animals. And then bad actors got at them because the security, well, let's face it, a 4-digit code can be hacked pretty much instantaneously. They really didn't care about the encryption. All they cared about was getting the product out and making money. I think a lot of people today want to make money, and I don't have anything against that. I just think, and I was talking about this to somebody before, that we need to be very conscientious in the AI world, in the software development, because even hardware, that when we do something, we want to do it for the greater good of all concerned. I know we want to do it to make a profit. I get that. But before we can worry about making a profit, we have to do what's right for ourselves and for the greater good of all concerned. And if you're just focusing on, well, how much money, you might make a ton of money, boatloads. But what you might not be planning for is all the lawsuits that might come at you because of the avoidance to safety. Now, people say that this wasn't done intentionally. Okay. So if it wasn't done intentionally, and you're telling me the profit was the first thing, then they were, well, intentionally oblivious to any imperfections. And there's no real easy way to get around that, guys. Just sounds like greed to me. And our friends, ladies and gentlemen, number 13, Amazon. Amazon's DIY. We're not talking about a do-it-yourself project. Do-it-yourself postal service. That's right. Amazon is so massive, It's openly exploring walking away from the United States Postal Service and building its own end-to-end postal-style delivery network. If that happens, everything from rural shipping costs to how fast your holiday packages arrive could be dictated by one tech logistics empire. But we've seen how Amazon works. They work well when there's large numbers, but when they make a mistake, they make a big, big mistake. And do we really want to be calling companies where you have to spend like 2 to 3 minutes to validate your account and then get through to somebody and they're like, oh, and then they tell you, well, thank you for calling Amazon. We're doing this to make it more efficient. But they're actually doing it not to make it, they're doing it to save money. And they're hoping that through your frustration, you're probably going to give up or go online and chat. I remember talking to somebody about a year ago, and they said, John, we do this on purpose. We want people to not call. We want people to chat. You're asking me? I think that's a recipe to get people to leave your business. Number 14, guys, the AI hoax bridge. What's this all about? Well, a real set of delays, a single AI doctored bridge collapse photo was enough to freeze real train traffic and disrupt dozens of journeys, proving that fake pixels now have physical consequences. This is the new reality. It doesn't take a cyber attack to cripple infrastructure, just one simple, believable hoax and a viral push. Everybody out there that reads news never wants to spread the good news. They always want to spread the lie. They want to spread the untruth because why? Well, it'll go viral because, this is going to catch people's attention. But this reminds me of the story of the wolf, the boy who cried wolf. So he was in the town and he sat on the wall and the people told him, when the wolf comes, make sure you call and we'll come running. Fine. He did that. There was no wolf. He did a second time and there was no wolf. When he did the third time, people were like, oh, there's no wolf. So we have to realize that we can break a reputation by doing something wrong, either intentionally or non-intentionally. All businesses are about profit. I get that. But I think what we need to focus on is intentional attitude and doing things the right way, not because you have to, but because you should want to, right? How many professions do you know take accountability to what they do? I'll tell you one, it's not the United States Postal Service. I sent a return receipt letter somewhere with restricted delivery. And weeks later, the package did get there. The letter did get there, but it never got signed for by that person. Never. Was it because of people not reading the documents? I think it's because the people they're hiring are not getting trained properly, or they're hiring people that really don't want to be in the saddle, that really don't want to be in the mail truck. I mean, that's the real bottom line truth, right? And if we look at the truths in life, right, we're able to extrapolate what should be the next logical thing. But many people say, I did this, I did that, and I'm getting no results. We know what Einstein said, right? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. What is that? That is insanity. Insanity. So the fact that somebody could come up with a picture using AI to fabricate the picture into something that's not even there, like a falling bridge or a falling building, when that building is perfectly safe. I had a perfect one today. About a month or two ago, I met somebody that I know. They lived in my community, And I was talking to this lady, and I said, "How is such and such?" Which is her husband. And she said, "Oh, John," she said, "it was very sad." And I said, "Excuse what?" He's no longer with us anymore. So I was like, "Oh," I would have went to pay my respect. She's like, "Oh," she's like, "it happened so fast." So after that day, I really didn't give it much thought to what happened. I just said, "Gee, he was a nice person, and I wish him all the best. I hope he has a good afterlife." And so I remember this, and just recently we had a holiday party, and out of the corner of my eye, guess who I see? That guy. And I do a double take, like I kind of wipe my hand. I'm like, "Huh?" And I get up and I tell him, I said, "I talked to such and such a few weeks ago, or a month or two ago, and she said that you're no longer with us." And he was blown out of the water. Apparently, they had a little bit of I don't want to say an argument, but had a little bit of a disagreement of, you know, his wife not getting along with his, let's say, um, daughter-in-law. That's a real that's a real problem. But people do these things, and it's the false lies that spread quicker. When you have something very viable to share, guess what happens? It doesn't spread. When you share something that's not true, it seems like it has extra wings. But something being bad shouldn't make it viral. Spreading news about something that's not true, that gets people's attention today. But it shouldn't. I said that we need to do things for the right reasons, not because somebody else said so, right? Pixels, whether we're talking about pixels in pictures, whether we're talking about any kind of pixel. And we think about, power outages. And we had a very interesting one. There was a company whose unit I was telling you about actually just, started melting, started smelling like it was on fire. Now, what it looks like is that they were using a lower quality capacitor, and they should have been using the higher quality one, because let's just say one might have been 10 cents, the other one might have been a couple dollars. It's sad that companies don't take responsibility until you start putting papers together for a lawsuit. Even though you might not be suing them, just the fact that you're putting the papers together is going to catch their attention. Pixels, passports, and the power outages. This shocks a lot of people because they're not expecting it. And when we think about power for just a moment, right? Power outages. We think about how that potentially could affect people close to us and even people that are a distance from us. I know a lot of you listening or watching today are saying to me, "John, I try not to spread bad news, but sometimes I hear something and then I spread it and then I find out it's bad. It's not true." So my advice to you is don't spread a bloody thing unless you can verify the source. Well, how did you hear that? Where'd you hear that from? Oh, I heard from such and such. Unless you can verify that source or speak to that source, be careful what you share. Some people want you to share stuff. You know why? Because they just want to get a rise out of you. This is like insane, guys. Thinking about that whole thing about that lady who was this gentleman's wife, how she said that it was not something that I expected, but to say a person didn't exist anymore. That's terrible. And if we can live our lives with lies, and we believe these lies, and we share these lies, that just makes the world a mess. But if we can focus on truth, if we can focus on the core of truth, if we can focus on why we do certain things in life, if we can focus on our purpose, if we can focus on our mission, right? Understanding these couple little things can make the main difference to whether we will be successful. That's very, very powerful, guys. I mean, that's extremely powerful, right? And like what happened with Petco, right? They're trying to push it under the carpet. Don't these companies know that you're better off to fess up what you did? Take ExxonMobil when they had the oil spill, right? All because maybe one of the drivers on the barge, maybe he was drinking, maybe he was too tired. But it's important to tell the truth. And then you have a better chance of rebuilding the reputation that unfortunately got destroyed. Nobody is perfect. But what we don't want in this world is to keep getting people that are lying to us day in and day out because, well, it's the cool thing to do. But it's not cool. It actually discredits us. And the more that we hear these things, and the more that we see they're not true, it just makes us like, really? Think about it yourself. When you hear some good news, do you share it? Or is it only when you hear something like, oh, well, make sure you don't tell anybody because, it's a secret? Do you just share the gossip? I hope not. Because that's not being a person that's full of integrity. And integrity comes down to acting in a way that exemplifies your core mission, your core values in life. Everybody wants to go viral. But if you go viral and it hurts somebody else, or let's say it makes them feel so bad that you've gotten them to give up their dreams, why would you do something like that? I think technology is the same way. It's a tool. If we can use that tool to build and create things, not to make us lazy, but to augment, and complement our life. AI is not to replace us. I want to be very clear about that. AI is a tool. AI is not here to keep us lazy. But many people use it for that purpose. That's just what they do. Because people that want answers say, well, gee, I'll just feed it to ChatGPT or some other AI engine. And then when they haven't even read through it to see if it actually makes sense, they start to be like, uh-oh, like, what do I do now? And by the time you're saying, uh-oh, it's like, it's already too late. Your credibility, your reputation has gone down the tubes. And you're going to need more than a plumber to get that pipe unclogged. I know many of you that are watching or listening tonight are saying, John, I get some of this, but I don't get it all. Remember, I don't expect you to get every point on every show. I think it comes down to the fact that if you get curious about something and maybe you want to watch the show again and get deeper insights. That is what's going to propel you forward. That's going to help you to learn. It's okay to make a mistake. I'm just asking you to be cognizant of the mistake, learn from it, and not do it again. That's what I'm asking you. If you can make that choice, you can grow. And if you grow, you'll be successful. And if you're successful, other people are going to want to know what's your secret sauce. They want to hang around you. They want to be on the ship that is just sailing across the harbor. They don't want to be on the ship whose main or whose engine is not properly ready to deploy them. I think that's a very important point. I think the more that we, let's say, ponder this concept, right? And tonight is a really amazing concept, guys. I mean, it's really amazing. Pixels, passports, and power outages. It's a shock for us. But sometimes we can shock ourselves to our core that will change who we're becoming. And hopefully that allows us to see, well, you know what? I don't like that person. I want to change that person. And you can do that. Even if somebody else says you can't, you can. Henry Ford said something a very long time ago. If you believe you can't, you're right. And if you believe you can, guess what? You are also right. That's powerful, guys. Very, very powerful. Whatever you do, whatever you say, be intentional with every single act. Ladies and gentlemen, I invite you to catch the latest episode that releases always within 24 hours of the show airing. And to please choose to stay ahead of tech, okay? And that's quietly reshaping your life. For more unique content, insights, and resources and tools, please visit believemeachieve.com so you can dive deeper into the stories behind the circuits, the code, and the clouds. This is just an invitation to begin the creativity to expose you to things you never even knew existed. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day and evening. I'll catch you real soon. Be well, everyone.